1. Address to the Right Honourable Prime Minister and copied to myself and the Clerk to Parliament on the aforementioned subject matter. Your letter was in response to the concerns raised by the Right Honourable Prime Minister and the Clerk to Parliament regarding the composition of the newly inaugurated Nssf Board of Directors as not being reflective of gender balance. In your said communication, you contend that Section 3 of the Nssf Act, Cap 222, that deals with the appointment of board members, does not provide for consideration as aspects like gender, age, religion, and disability in the criteria for appointment. You further stated that under the Nssf Board Manual and Charter, nominations are based on constituency in the form of listed institutions that you neither influence nor control, and that in the absence of a specific law compelling the listed institutions to take the gender factor into consideration in nominating names for appointment, you cannot enforce the requirement. You pledge to consult with the Attorney General's chambers to address the gap in the law through appropriate proposals for amendment. I note that the new Nssf board is constituted as follows: list of the board members: Peter Chimbowa, Chairman, Independent; Patrick Ochailap, representing Finance; Agri David Shibenge, representing Gender, Labor; Penina Tukamwesiga. Yes, that one. Representing COF2, Sam Liomoki, representing Central Organization of Free Trade Union, also Penina, Central Organization of Free Trade Union; Bahemuka Julius, National Organization of Trade Unions; Luabai Mutiba Asan, National Organization of Trade Unions; Fred K. Bamwesije, Federation of Uganda Employers; Silva Mugisha, Federation of Uganda Employers; and Richard Biarogaba, Nssf Managing Director. From the above list of appointees, there is only one female, Ms. Penina Tukamwesiga, member representing Central Organization of Free Trade Union. I would like to advise as follows, and this is now the advice. In the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, under Objective 4, Gender Balance and Fair Representation of Marginalized Groups, it states, the state shall ensure gender balance and fair representation of marginalized groups on all constitutional and other bodies. Under Objective X5, Recognition of the Role of Women, the Constitution further states that the state shall recognize the significant role that women play in society. Under Article 21 of the Constitution on Equality and Freedom from Discrimination, it states that all persons are equal before and under the law in all spheres of political, economic, social, and cultural life, and in every other respect, and shall enjoy equal protection of the law, and that no person shall be discriminated against on the ground of sex, race, color, ethnic origin, tribe, birth, creed or religion, or social or economic standing, political opinion, or disability. Article 32 of the Constitution on affirmative action in favor of marginalized groups states that, notwithstanding anything in this Constitution, the state shall take affirmative action in favor of groups marginalized on the basis of gender, age, disability, or any other reason created by history, tradition, or custom for the purpose of redressing imbalances which exist against them. Article 33 of the Constitution on the Rights of Women further states that women shall be accorded full and equal dignity of the person with men, provided with the facilities and opportunities necessary to enhance the welfare of women, to enable them to realize their full potential and advancement, protected by the state taking into account their unique status and natural maternal functions in society, have the right to equal treatment with men, and that right shall include equal opportunities in political, economic, and social activities, and accorded the right to affirmative action for the purpose of redressing the imbalances created by history, tradition, or custom. From therefore going, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda was contravened. I hope you have a lawyer here. In ignoring to adhere to the principle of gender balance and fair representation in appointing members of the Board of Directors of Nssf. The Nssf Act is a subordinate law to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of Uganda. Therefore, the issue of gender and all other aspects, including religion, race, color, ethnic origin, tribe, socio-economic standing, political opinion, or disability, should be taken into consideration when appointing members to such national bodies. No, but you have asked me the questions, I'm answering.
Honorable members, can't you finish, then you ask? Okay.
Chair, I think we need to go slowly. Even some of us who are not lawyers, but with experience, we are lawyers. Chair, this law was passed in the presence of the Attorney General. One, is giving the ideal condition of what the Constitution is saying. Two, the Attorney General is very much aware that anything to do with the law, you repeal it if it is against the Constitution. This morning, I'm raising this because of the witness that came here in the morning. Now, we are trying to see how this one can be handled. The question was the minister instituting a new board? If so, then he should be mindful about what the minister has been saying. I'm telling you, arising out of this morning's interaction with the witness. Now, if the new board was ongoing, was there any pressure to accommodate the gender balance for something which is ongoing? I just wanted to remind her what points were raised in the morning, so that we agree with what the Attorney General is saying, but the timing of amending or constituting that, was it the right time? I think you can proceed.
Chair, this was my question. Honorable Minister, you read the last paragraph of that letter you have been reading. The Attorney General did not tell you in that letter to go and disband the board. The Attorney General advised you to consider those parameters as per the Constitution when appointing.
Please, let me finish. I will answer your question. I am very, very sober. I know the question you answered, you asked. In following the Nssf Act, in the appointment of Board of Directors, you should be guided, you should have guided the nominating institutions to nominate at least one woman from their designated quota in order to align the gender composition of the board as prescribed by the Constitution. While the constituencies nominated persons for appointment, you remain the appointing authority, and therefore it will be within your remit and power to guide the constituency to make their nominations guided by the gender equity principle. This would, among other things, entail you, where the circumstance warrant, to request a nominating constituency to substitute a nominee for another in order to enable you comply with gender equality law. On another note, that one I don't need to read because it is about cabinet's power. And then it says, I would therefore like to advise under this confidential cover that the appointment of members of the board of Nssf was not in conformity with the Constitution and also that Cabinet was not consulted before the appointment. I'm available should you require any clarification. So this was the letter from Attorney General in respect to the Minister of Finance. Now, when I took over office, the Attorney General again wrote to me. In a letter dated 14th January 2022, the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Kampala, confidential.
The first one was 45.
Gender disparity in the composition of the newly inaugurated Board of Directors of National Social Security Fund. The above matter has been raised by, among others, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Clerk to Parliament, and the Chairperson of Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association. I have here, and by the way, she wrote to me, the Chairperson of UWOPA, immediately I took over office, reminding me still about the directive from Parliament, and said Honorable Kasaija was directed, did not comply. And I'm also writing to you, and he wrote to me, she wrote to me. The Attorney General proceeded to say, I have herewith attached the following correspondences for your ease of reference. 1, Ref MEP 77/85/06, dated 1st November 2021, from the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to the Right Honorable Prime Minister. 2, Ref ADM 7/198/01, from Attorney General's Chambers to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. That's the letter I've just read. 3, Ref MEP 77/85/06, dated 7th December 2021, and 1 dated 8th December 2021, from the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to the Attorney General. And 4, and reference letter dated 7th January 2021, from the Chairperson of Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association to your good self. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to 1, acquaint you with the correspondences in respect of the matter. 2, reiterate that in accordance with Objective 5 and XV, Article 21, 32, and 33 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the appointment of the board was not in conformity with the Constitution. 3, underscore the legal imperative in consulting and seeking Cabinet approval before the appointment of the new Board of Directors. 4, advise. Now listen to that one. Advise that as the responsible minister for appointment of the board, it is within your remit and power to guide the constituency to make nominations guided by the gender equity principle. This may, among other things, require the minister, where circumstances warrant, to request a nominating constituency, to substitute, is advising me to ask the constituency to substitute a nominee for another in order to enable the Honorable Minister comply with the gender equity law. I remain available should you require any further clarification. So it is what guided my action.
That was guidance from the Attorney General. And the guidance is that when you are appointing a board, you are supposed to guide the constituencies. But for now, he guided you to ask them to substitute. Is that what happened? Did you write to them to substitute? What happened? How did you do it?
So we are settled on the issue of law?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I thought we are not, so that I would have read the Constitution that gives the Attorney General to guide me.
So how did you do it?
So after that, I wrote a letter on 14th January 2022. The Permanent Secretary, Secretary to the Treasury, Minister of Finance, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Chairperson, Federation of Uganda Employers, Chairperson, Central Organization of Free Trade Unions, the Chairperson, National Organization of Trade Unions. Disparity in composition of the Board of Directors for National Social Security Fund. My attention has been drawn to a letter dated 2nd December 2021 from the Attorney General giving a legal opinion that the appointment of members of the Board of Directors of Nssf was not in conformity with the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and also that Cabinet was not consulted before these appointments were made. The Attorney General has restated this position in his letter to me today, 14th January 2022. In addition, similar concerns were raised in Parliament by the chairperson of the Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development, the chairperson of Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association, and the Right Honourable Prime Minister while responding to this issue. After HE's assent to the National Social Security Fund Amendment Act 2021, the Attorney General advised that I notify entities entitled to nominate board members to recall their nominees and reconstitute the board to include at least 3 women in keeping with the requirements of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Under the current board, there's only 1 female, Ms. Penina Tukwamesiga, who is one of the 2 members representing COFTU. I have consulted my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development on the matter, and we both concurred that we follow the advice of the Attorney General. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to request you to submit new nominations that meet the constitutional requirement of having at least 3 women members of the board to my office not later than 20th January 2022. It is preferable that as a minimum, each of the member organizations with more than 1 representative should ensure gender equity while making their submissions, as well as the other requirements of Section 36A-2C of the Amendment Act, including high moral character, proven integrity, consideration of persons with disabilities, balance of skills and experience among members of the board, and representation from the Federation of Uganda Employees being drawn from contributing employers. In view of the fact that the board is expected to approve regulations for midterm access, I will appreciate your prompt action and structural response. So when I wrote this letter, the former MD, Mr. Richard Byarugaba, contacted me. I think it was actually at night, and in a lengthy plea, yes, contacted me on phone at night. What were you thinking, Honorable Baka? I think Honorable Chair, Honorable Baka is making too many imaginations. So he contacted me and discussed with me the issue at length, but his major concern was that it will interrupt the board. I did tell him I cannot defy the advice of Attorney General. We agreed that the people I had written to, we should then meet the following day, and with my permanent secretary, they mobilized this team, but also included some members of parliament and some people from the stakeholders. We met. So when we met, during the meeting, nobody wanted to pull out, because there were now only, I think, 2, Federation of Uganda Employers and NOTO, that had to substitute because there were 2 men. But none of them were willing to. So I offered, I said, okay, since my power gives me, the law gives me power to appoint the chair, I will withdraw the chair and then appoint a woman chair. However, I would still need 1 volunteer constituent to bring a woman. Then the former managing director said, no, we cannot substitute the chair. He said, no, we cannot touch the chair. So I give them time to go and caucus. So at that time, good enough that meeting had Attorney General. At that time, I broke off the meeting and they went, negotiated. I don't know what they negotiated, but they came back to me and said that the 2 Federation of Uganda Employers and NOTO had accepted that they be given time to go and consult further on substituting one of the members. So we agreed with the Attorney General that it's okay, let them go and discuss. Then after, they then went for a board meeting in Nairobi. So when they went to the board meeting in Nairobi, the chairman, when they returned, came to me and said they have got some headway into the issue. So I told him, you put in writing what you have, the headway you've got. So he wrote to me, and I want to read the chairman's letter. It's dated 21st January 2022, and addressed to me, confidential, National Social Security Fund 12 board composition. Reference is made to the meeting held between yourself and the board of National Social Security Fund, in bracket the fund, on Monday 17th January 2022 at the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development in the presence of the Attorney General. In the subject meeting, you raised the need for the board to be urgently reconstituted to include at least 2 more female representatives as advocated for by several stakeholders and in line with the related constitutional provisions. Following lengthy discussions, and I want this letter to answer the second question where you are saying that I initiated. So I want this to also, this letter to, because this is a chair telling me about their board meeting in Nairobi. Following a lengthy discussion, the meeting arrived at a consensus that the constituency from which board members are appointed, specifically the Workers' Union and the Federation of Uganda Employers, would revisit their current representation on the fund board and propose alternative nominees for the minister's consideration to enable composition of a gender-sensitive board. The board members observed that the decision above would require, he's telling me what the board is saying, would require that some of the current male board members will be required to relinquish their position on the board to enable their representative constituency replace them with female colleagues. This was subject to the affected board members being appropriately compensated and in addition availed an opportunity to serve on one of the boards of the fund's investees companies. So he said when they were negotiating, they agreed that these 2 members will be, because they have other investee companies, they will put them there as a negotiation and compensate them. You advise the board to consider the proposal above and revert to you. The board, as this morning, convened an extraordinary board meeting to consider the matters above and has made the following recommendations for your consideration. 1, that a member required to leave the fund board to enable its reconstitution be compensated with the amounts that would otherwise have been due to them for the rest of their board term pursuant to the board appointment letters issued on 31st August 2021 for a board term effective 1st September 2022. The specific details are attached in Appendix A, Year 2. 2, the affected board members be compensated in cash in lieu of board positions on the fund's investee boards, since it is not possible to guarantee board placements on the boards of the fund's investee companies. The specific payment details are attached in Appendix B, Year 2. 3, the payment above will be made to the affected board members upon receipt of your related communication confirming their recall from the board of the fund. Further to the above, in the meeting this morning, the board was guided that the Workers' Union and the Federation of Uganda Employers will communicate to you their final board nominees for the fund board upon receipt of your related communication, seeking for recall of their representatives to enable reconstitution as guided by yourself. Meanwhile, we remain committed to ensuring stability at the fund for the benefit of the members and all its stakeholders, especially in consideration of the sensitivities around the anticipated implementation of the provisions of the recently amended Act. Yours faithfully, Peter Chimbowa, PhD, Chairman Board. So when I received this letter, I wrote to the board notifying them that they should reconstitute their members. They indeed reconstituted and withdrew and sent the two ladies. After that, the chair then wrote again, notifying me that the board had also again sat and approved the money and they needed my no objection. I did give a no objection, and I indicated in my letter that you are required to do this within the Nssf policy and legal framework. So, whatever the board did must be within the policy and legal framework.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Eddakiika ziri bbiri zokka ez'akakongo ka ku ssaawa emu ey'akawungezi. Nkwanirizaako UBC TV ate n'enkwebaza egyo gy'otuusizzaako engalo olunaku olwaleero. Tulina bingi bye tukuŋŋaanyiriza okuva mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo okuli n'omuyeekera wa ADF attiddwa abadde abaduumira ate nga n'ekkanisa ya Uganda egaanye abali b'ebisiyaga n'obufumbo bwabwe okubikkiriza. Nze Shaidat Nassaku ennaku z'omwezi ziri 10 omwezi tuli mu Gwakubiri ate omwaka 2023. Tugenda kugatandika tuti. Poliisi ekakasizza nga bwesse omuduumizi w'abayeekera ba ADF Sulaiman Bisaso Segawa mu nsiitaani webadde ku kyalo Katakala mu disitulikiti ey'Emityana. Mu kikwekweto kino poliisi ekutte basajja ba Bisaso basatu. Bisaso akubiddwa amasasi agawerako oluvannyuma lw'okugaana okwewaayo mu mirembe mu mikono gy'abakuumaddembe. Kati birabe.
Mwezi guno gwa February abasirikale abava mu kitongole ekikesi ekya crime intelligence basobodde okukola obulumbaganye mu awabadde akabondo ka ADF ku kyalo ky'e Katakala akasangibwa mu district ey'Emityana. Ekifo kino twasobola okukola obukesi obw'ekikugu ne tukizuula nti omu ku bakulembeze aba ADF mu kitundu ekya Central yali yeekwese mu kitundu kino eky'e Katakala. Omwami ono omuyeekera ono abadde gwe bayita Sulaiman Bisaso Segawa yabadde akulira akabondo aka ADF mu kitundu ky'Emityana. Ono mu kuwanyisiganya amasasi kubanga yagaanye